Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have a lot to get into, as we have quite a bit to talk about in the world of Southern California sports, such as UCLA men's hoops. The dream is over as they just got eliminated by Gonzaga. Another heartbreak for those gutty little Bruins. Sadly, the dream is over and they are out of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. But at least the women are still in it as they take on the number one overall seed South Carolina. Can they avenge their early season loss to the Gamecocks? And San Diego State is still in the NCAA men's basketball tournament as they take on the number one overall seed in Alabama. Can they take down the number one overall seed? We'll see. And how about CBU women's basketball? Yes, the Lady Lancers. California Baptist won the Women's Basketball Invitational. How about those Lady Lancers? I know it's not the greatest hardwood that they won, but hey, hardwood is hardwood. They came away with some hardwood that they had more so than they brought in. And the Lakers are trending upward while the Clippers lost Paul George for a good amount of time. But hey, they're still trending in the right direction. They beat the Thunder last night. Also, LA Galaxy has yet to win a game. But LAFC is still undefeated. So there's that. All of that and more on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining in on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday morning, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made your way into episode 128 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, before I begin, excuse me a second, I just want to apologize for missing out on last week's show. I was pretty sick, and I had a lot going on. I actually had a job interview as I was interviewing to get a part-time job at the grocery store. Yes, I am going back to the grocery store just because I need to make some money, and also I had a PA announcer gig. Yes, and I was also sick as well, so I had a lot going on last week, and I just did not have the energy to basically go on. And like I said, that job interview that I had, actually, it was supposed to be on Thursday, but unfortunately it got moved over to Friday, so yeah, it conveniently got moved over to noon, so I could not do the SoCal Supreme Sports Show last Friday. So I just had too much on my dish to do SoCal Supreme Sports Show, so I am so sorry for missing last week, so I hope y'all can forgive me. So there's that right there. But with all that said and done, let's begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok at IE Sports Radio. Also do follow IE Sports Radio on Facebook for those that still use it at IE Sports Radio. Just type in the word IE, then sports, then radio in the search bar. Like them, then follow them on Facebook, and then poof, that's how you'll be able to follow them. We also have a website, www.iesportsradio.com, and when you go there, you will see a Patreon link at the top, and once you click it, donations will start at $5 a month once you decide to start donating. This will get you a shout out from all of our shows, all 27 of our shows, including this one, And other tiers include, and higher tiers include, IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to IESRU, the podcasting university of IE Sports Radio, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment with Larry B. Because for the past 8 years, going on 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've been continuing to be by the fans and for the fans. And with your help, we are ready to take the next biggest step. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Shout out to our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised Apparel, Key to the Gate, Marcus Lowstreet, and a donor that wishes to remain anonymous. And with all that said and done, let us begin. Shout out to the live chat room, Adam Karnick that popped in. He says, hello, Teran, go Aztecs tonight. Thank you for popping in. Oh, I also want to give a shout out to Adam Karnick and his wife for giving birth to a baby boy this past Tuesday, I want to say. And Adam Karnick and his wife get the first Big W award on giving birth to a healthy baby boy, and they will be going home today. And if you're already home, then congratulations on your safe travels back home and basically going home and being home from the hospital. So congratulations on giving birth to a healthy baby boy, and you get the Big W award, the first Big W award of today's show. So congratulations on the birth of your baby boy. So he says go Aztecs tonight, which is actually a perfect segue to go into March Madness. So unfortunately, since I missed last week, I basically missed out on a lot of content, so I might as well just speed through everything that happened. So, long story short, San Diego State, as Adam mentioned, they won the or the Mountain West Conference tournament. The men did. They beat what's their face? They won the finals, 62-57. I want to say it was over Utah State. Either way, they won the finals 62-57. UCLA lost in the finals against Arizona. They were shorthanded, and they lost by 2. UC Santa Barbara defeated Cal State Fullerton, which kind of was surprising, but not really, just because Santa Barbara was pretty darn good. It was the battle of the past 2 Big West Conference champions, and Santa Barbara was kind of the sharpshooter of the 2. So, but to no one's surprise, UCLA got into the NCAA tournament, and then USC got in as an at-large bid, which kind of was surprising, but it wasn't ultimately surprising. So USC got into the tournament. They got matched up with Michigan State, while UCLA got matched up with UNC Asheville. UC Santa Barbara got matched up with Baylor, and then San Diego State, I don't remember their first round matchup. My memory is kind of fuzzy and foggy, and I'm sorry to basically this happened like a week ago, and a lot happens within a week. But honestly, San Diego State. Long story short, San Diego State won their first round matchup on Saturday. They beat Furman in dominating fashion. Oh they won. That was the second round matchup. Their first round matchup was on Thursday. They beat Charleston 63-57, and that was kind of their sneaky good first round matchup. And everyone thought that was going to be an upset, but it wasn't. But UCLA defeated UNC Asheville 86-53, which was not surprising. That was just basically the appetizer for UCLA. Now, for Friday's matchups, USC and Michigan State did battle with one another. It was basically close for the first half, but then Michigan State turned on the gas in the second half, and that was basically GG for USC. USC just could not keep up with Michigan State, and that was basically the game right there. USC lost to Michigan State 72-62. Unfortunately, I could not see this matchup just because I was making my way to the grocery store for my my job interview. So this was no surprise, though, just because USC was just so inconsistent. And it showed in this match. Like, they were consistent in the first half, but then the second half came around, and they were just doomed from the get-go in that second half. So unfortunately, USC basically just bowed out in that second half. So Larry B. Pops in the chat room, he says, I'm here for this. I'm glad you are here for this, my brother, and it makes my day that you're here for this, just because I missed last week and I apologize, and I'm glad to be back here, and hopefully I don't have to clear my throat too many times. So, as for UC Santa Barbara Baylor, let's just say if games were decided in the first half, UC Santa Barbara would be advancing. I even picked UC Santa Barbara to advance to to pull the upset. Well, Santa Barbara dominated the first half. Well, okay, dominated wouldn't be the correct term. They were doing good in the first half. They led 36-35 in the first half. And then the second half, they kind of ran out of juice, and Baylor just was not missing for the most part, as UC Santa Barbara lost to Baylor 74-56. It was pretty ugly. So, yeah. Way to pick the bad upset, Teran. Way to pick an upset that was probably the most unlikely. I mean, it's good to be confident in the team just because Santa Barbara nearly pulled an upset a couple seasons ago when they nearly defeated Creighton. But it's like Larry said it best. Baylor's Baylor. It's just because Baylor comes from a Power 5 conference. Now, Creighton does come from the Big East Conference just because the Big East is also kind of that Power 6 conference, but it's like Baylor's kind of I would say they're on their own level, but it's like the Big 12 is kind of an anomaly. You have your Kansas, you've got your Kansas State, you've got your Texas. Like, that conference is kind of it's kind of on a whole nother level somewhat. So unfortunately for Santa Barbara, they bowed out. Now, if they had played like a non-Power 5 conference school, maybe they would have had a shot, but unfortunately, Santa Barbara just had little to no chance. So for Saturday's games, San Diego State, like I mentioned, they took down Furman in dominating fashion, 75-52. Everyone knew Furman upset Virginia in the first round, which I think everyone got a huge kick out of that. But unfortunately, San Diego State decided not to allow another upset. They decided to pull the plug on Furman's Make-A-Wish Foundation as San Diego State just dominated Furman. So, unfortunately, I do apologize to all the Furman fans out there, but San Diego State had its own agenda, and they decided to advance to the Sweet 16. So, good job to San Diego State on advancing to the Sweet 16, as tonight they take on Baylor, or not Baylor, Alabama, the number 1 overall seed, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But as for the other round of 32 matchup, UCLA matched up with Northwestern, a.k.a. Chicago's... what's a good word to call Northwestern? Chicago's charlatans, Chicago's shepherds, Chicago's sweeties. Yeah, either way, they were the little purple engine that could. And to my surprise, Northwestern threw everything at UCLA and then some. But UCLA came out on top 68-63. Northwestern threw everything at UCLA. The kitchen sink, the basement, the toilet, the washing machine, the dryer, everything. They threw everything at UCLA, but UCLA withstood their ground. They withstood everything Northwestern threw at them, and they held on just because they had Jaime Jaquez, and they had all those other really talented cats. They did lose David Singleton in the last minute or so, just because he hurt his ankle, which really sucked. But fortunately for UCLA, they had other talented players that stepped up, like Amari Bailey, Tiger Campbell, and they also had Adam Bona playing. He is their standout freshman, who unfortunately did not play the next game, which I'm about to get into next. So, UCLA advanced to the Sweet 16, where they took on a ever-so-familiar foe in Gonzaga, which was last night's game. So, alright, so time to rip off the bandage. Alright, so last night's game between UCLA and Gonzaga. So it was looking really good for UCLA. So UCLA kind of had the edge over Gonzaga for the most part. They led at halftime. They led 46-33. It was looking really good. And eventually at one point, they were leading by double digits for a good chunk of the game. And eventually Gonzaga was nipping away at the lead. And eventually UCLA led 59-52. And it was like 12 and a half to go. And UCLA fans were kind of smelling the finish line. They were thinking, all right, UCLA's got this. No Adam Bona, and I think they had one other guy out. David Singleton did play, but UCLA's got this. I'm thinking, all right, UCLA's got this. There's no way they can mess this up. Jaime Jaquez just put UCLA up 7. There's no way that UCLA can find a way to mess this up. But then Gonzaga's starting to chip away at the lead. UCLA's starting to miss their layups. It's like, okay, UCLA, get it together here. Reestablish yourselves. Gonzaga starts making things. UCLA's still missing. Gonzaga's starting to make things. They tie the game up. And I'm like, okay, UCLA, get your stuff together. Start making your baskets. Gonzaga takes the lead. I'm like, stop it, UCLA. Get it together. Gonzaga now has the lead. I'm like, stop this, UCLA. This is not the UCLA that was doing good in the regular season. And now I'm starting to get worried here. And it's like, what's going on here? UCLA can't buy a basket. They had to earn their points from the charity stripe. It's like, I could not believe what I was seeing here. Suddenly, UCLA's lead was turning into the biggest hole I have ever seen. And I just could not believe what I was seeing here. And it's like, the tables were turned drastically. Suddenly, UCLA's lead was turning into a hole, and suddenly their hopes of advancing to the Elite Eight were slipping away further and further and further. They were down 9 with about 2 minutes to go, and I'm just getting worried. And it took UCLA 11 minutes and change to finally make a field goal. They were up. Their last field goal came courtesy of Jaime Jaquez with about 12:30 left in the game. And then Jaime Jaquez, believe it or not, made the field goal for UCLA with about 1:14 remaining as he got fouled on a layup, and he made it, and he actually made the free throw. And suddenly UCLA is only down 6 after they were down 9, 72-66. And then UCLA has to play the foul game, and suddenly Gonzaga's back up 74-66. And then basically it's just foul game after foul game after foul game. So basically UCLA forces a turnover. It's 74-68 in favor of Gonzaga. Jaime Jaquez makes a layup and he draws the foul, and then he makes the free throw. And suddenly UCLA is only down 3. It's a one-possession game. And then basically Gonzaga splits the free throws, and Gonzaga's only up 4, and then Jaime Jaquez makes another layup, and suddenly UCLA is only up 2. Or suddenly UCLA is only down 2, and then Gonzaga calls timeout, and then Gonzaga sends Drew Timme to the line, and Drew Timme's having a fantastic game. Drew Timme, everyone is just talking about Drew Timme. He's like, Drew Timme this, Drew Timme that, Drew Timme this, Drew Timme that. He misses both free throws. And then Amari Bailey grabs the rebound. He kicks it out to Tiger Campbell, and then kicks it back out to Amari Bailey. And everyone's expecting Jaime Jaquez to take the 3, or Tiger Campbell, or David Singleton. No, Amari Bailey gets the 3-pointer, nothing but net, and then suddenly UCLA's back up 76-75. And I'm like, wasn't UCLA like dead in the water? They were down like 9 with about 90 seconds remaining. But suddenly UCLA is up 1 with about 13 seconds left. March Madness, man. I just can't believe it. So then UCLA calls timeout, and I guess it's like just to preserve momentum. But that's how college basketball works. You don't get this luxury in the NBA. So I'm just thinking, as long as UCLA just does not give up any sort of miracle shot like they did back a couple seasons ago. Because you remember back in 2021, or 2 seasons ago, where Gonzaga made that, what was it, a half-court shot or a near half-court shot, where Gonzaga made that near half-court shot in overtime to basically send Gonzaga to the national championship, which broke the hearts of many UCLA fans. So, basically, that was kind of the case right there. So, Gonzaga basically advanced the ball up the court, and normally everyone's thinking that the ball's going to go in the hands of Drew Timme. It winds up in the hands of Julian Strother. I don't even know who this guy is. It winds up in the hands of Julian Strother, and he makes a three-pointer from well beyond the three-point line, and it's like, no. Are you joking me, dude? And then, unfortunately, Tiger Campbell turns the ball over, and then Julian Strother splits the free throws, and it's like, that's checkmate right there. UCLA just doesn't get a shot off, and then that's the game right there. It's like, are you joking me, dude? Why? Why? What? Now, the three-pointer was not the game right there for UCLA. That three-pointer that Julian Strother made was not the game right there. UCLA going 11 minutes without a field goal was the game right there. Now, I also get it. UCLA did not have Adam Bona and then one other key player that did not play. But it's like you cannot go 11 minutes without a field goal and expect to win against Gonzaga. It does not work like that. And you can't expect Drew Timme to go off and not make a field goal and expect to win that game. It just doesn't work like that. Like, UCLA should know this. It's like, what? Did UCLA just have a cold spell to, like, make sure they just don't make anything? It's like, God. I'm sorry, but UCLA just did not deserve to win that game. It's frustrating. They had that game. Yes, Larry B does make a good point. They had that game, but it's like you gave up that three to pretty much a wide open guy from well beyond the 3-point line. But it's like, dude. But honestly, they would have had to have Jaime Jaquez make like a miracle 3-pointer with about like 7 seconds to go. And honestly, Mick Cronin didn't even have a timeout left to pretty much draw up a game plan. They would have had to like run the ball up the court and then just like get the ball to like get a crazy 3-pointer. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's how UCLA season comes to an end. Again, it sucks that UCLA season ends like that. And this was pretty much championship or bust for the Bruins. I know they have a bunch of other guys that they return for next season, like Adam Bona and a bunch of other players, but it's like this was the golden opportunity for them to win the championship. And unfortunately, it kind of just slipped through their fingers. It just sucks because Gonzaga is a good team. I'll give them that much. But it's like UCLA had every chance in the world. They had them on the throat. And then that dry spell came with 12:30 remaining in the game. Like, it just does not work like that. You just can't have that dry spell happening. And the worst part is that I picked UCLA to freaking win in a pair of my brackets. God. It just sucks because it's like, I really wanted UCLA to win this season. It's like, the last time we really had a team from SoCal winning the national championship in men's basketball was pretty much UCLA. It's like, we're probably not going to get that unless San Diego State does the unthinkable and beats Alabama and then runs the table. If they do, then bully for them. But it's like, let's be realistic with ourselves. But who knows? I gotta be a little bit more positive. And at least we still have UCLA on the women's side, right? But anyway, I will say this about UCLA's men's basketball team. It was a fantastic season for them. Again, there is no silver lining. There's no true silver lining for this, but it was a special season for them. But it's like, it was championship or bust for them. So, I hate to say this, but this was kind of the best chance that they had to win the national championship. The worst part is that pretty much all the other number one seeds were gone. Kansas was gone. And this was their best chance to win the national championship. So, it's like, who else was pretty much going to stop him? So it's like, I don't know, man. So UCLA, this was UCLA's best chance. So I hate to say it, but I don't know if we're going to get another chance to see UCLA shine on this stage. This might have been a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for those Bruins. But that's just the way March Madness works. We'll see, though. So that's pretty much that for NCAA men's basketball. Again, we still have San Diego State, but heaven knows what's going to happen with them at 3:30 Pacific time against Alabama. So on the women's side of things, long story short, we have USC and UCLA in the tournament. I'm just going to speed this up in terms of the teams that qualified for the NCAA tournament. USC and UCLA qualified for the NCAA tournament, but unfortunately, no teams wound up winning their conference tournament. CBU lost in its conference tournament championship. UC Santa Barbara lost in heartbreaking fashion to Hawaii in its conference tournament championship. And we already know what happened with UCLA in its conference tournament championship against Washington State. Fortunately for UCLA, I knew they were going to qualify, and then USC qualified as an at-large. So, as for USC in the first round of their opening matchup, let's just say they lost to the other SDSU. They lost to South Dakota State in the first round as the 8th seed. Well, USC was the 8th seed. South Dakota State was the 9th seed, and USC lost in overtime 62-57, which broke my heart. It's like USC qualifies for the NCAA tournament for the first time in 9 seasons, and they wind up losing a heartbreaker in overtime. Why does this gotta happen to me? I want to backtrack before I continue on with that. UC Irvine's men's basketball team actually qualified for the NIT. Unfortunately, they wound up getting drubbed by Oregon. It was pretty ugly. It was very ugly. So I don't really think I should go further into detail about that. 84-58. Yeah, they got stomped into the ground. So, yeah, that's pretty much that right there. So, anyway, back to USC women's basketball. Yeah, they qualified for the NCAA women's basketball tournament for the first time since 2014, and their first game, they lose in overtime to South Dakota State. That's just heartbreaking right there. And I feel bad for the women of Troy. I wish they could have gone to the second round, but honestly, they probably would have gotten drubbed in the second round, so it just sucks, man. It's like, I wish they could have just gone, they could have at least won one game, but it's like, at least they're back to relevancy. I'm not trying to say that in a negative way, but it's like, God. Sometimes you'd rather lose by a lot than lose by a little in overtime, but it is what it is. So as for UCLA, they qualified as an at-large in the NCAA women's basketball tournament. They actually drew Sacramento State in the first round. Yeah, go figure. They drew a NorCal team. And they actually got to host, just because that's how the NCAA women's basketball tournament works. And they just drubbed Sacramento State 67-45. Believe it or not, this was actually Sacramento State's first ever NCAA tournament appearance. And unfortunately, UCLA kind of gave them the SoCal treatment. The SoCal treatment the tough way, as, yeah, UCLA just drubbed them 67-45. Big yikes right there. And then UCLA in the second round against Oklahoma beat the Sooners 82-73 as UCLA advances to take on undefeated South Carolina on Saturday at 11 a.m. in the Greenville Regional in the Sweet 16. So UCLA and South Carolina have faced one another, and I believe this was all the way back in November, late November, where UCLA had North Carolina on the ropes until, unfortunately, the fourth quarter happened, and let's just say South Carolina did this thing called adjusting, and South Carolina wound up winning 73-64. Now UCLA has to play South Carolina in the Sweet 16. And did I mention that South Carolina is the number 1 overall seed, and South Carolina has yet to lose? But UCLA has nothing to lose and a whole lot more to gain, and South Carolina can basically lose it all if UCLA can topple South Carolina. Because you got to remember, UCLA struggled against Stanford, but they barely lost to Stanford both of those times in Pac-12 play. They could do it again against South Carolina. I'm not being crazy here. You just got to remember, the third time was the charm against Stanford. The second time can be the charm against South Carolina. I'm not just saying that just because of my SoCal bias. I'm saying that because UCLA may be young, but they're scrappy as heck. They can take down South Carolina. It's doable. UCLA has the tools. It's going to be tough, though, just because South Carolina doesn't really make a whole lot of mistakes. Every team in the NCAA tournament has proven they can be beaten once. Only South Carolina has proven they cannot be beaten one time. So South Carolina is going to be a hill to climb for those Bruins. But if UCLA can get past South Carolina, it would be a monstrous upset, and it would be quite the upset. And boy howdy, it would prove that UCLA women's basketball is back. So we'll see if UCLA can do that. But if they can do so, then, man, I'd be quite impressed. And UCLA has played at South Carolina. They played at South Carolina back in November. So we'll see if UCLA can hang with the Gamecocks. So that's pretty much the only other team in the NCAA women's basketball tournament. So the other teams in SoCal on the women's basketball side of things actually partook in the WNIT and the WBI, which is the Women's College Basketball Invitational. So in terms of the WNIT, Long Beach State, UC Irvine, San Diego State, and San Diego all got put into that. So they all got put in the regional. I thought at first that it was just all basically just them being pitted against one another just because of coincidence, but I get it now. It's all regional bologna sausage, as the first round consisted of Long Beach State versus San Diego and San Diego State versus UC Irvine. So San Diego crushed Long Beach State by a lot to a little. No, I'm just kidding. Long Beach State they had no answers to pretty much to San Diego. I don't know how. I thought Long Beach State actually had a better chance at defeating San Diego, just because San Diego's not that great of a team, are they? Either way, San Diego really flushed them out as they won 75-57, which is pretty good if you ask me. That was last Thursday, and then last Friday, UC Irvine flushed out. Well, I wouldn't say flushed out. They beat San Diego State 55-45, where UC Irvine and San Diego State managed to beat one another. I should also mention that San Diego beating Long Beach State was the second straight year that the Toreros won a WNIT game. So that's kind of your Snapple fun fact of the day right there. So good job to the Lady Toreros. I didn't even know that. So thank you to Daryl Trujillo for that fun fact right there. So thanks. Anyway, so on Monday, San Diego defeated UC Irvine in the second round of the WNIT 58-48. So that ended UC Irvine's season, but it was a fantastic season for the Anteaters as they ended the season at 25-7, which is actually pretty darn good. Like, I don't think UC Irvine was projected to have that many wins, let alone to win the regular season Big West Conference championship, even though they had a couple of games canceled, and the Big West Conference's policy is complete dog water. You all know how I feel about that. Just go back to last episode. Anyway, so San Diego advanced to the Super 16. Yes, it's called the Super 16. Go look it up. That's basically how the WNIT works. So they advanced to the NIT Super 16, where they played Oregon on Thursday, which was yesterday. And unfortunately, San Diego saw its season come to an end, where they wound up losing to Oregon. Yes, the same Oregon led by Coach Dana Altman, 81-61. And yeah, that was kind of inevitable. Despite having nearly the same record as San Diego, Oregon just pretty much flushed them out. It was pretty much not even close, as this one was over by halftime, as Oregon led 43-30 at halftime, and yeah, Oregon's hot shooting just was pretty much not even... They pretty much just flushed them out. So, unfortunately for Oregon, it's basically Pac-12 team versus West Coast Conference team. It's the biggest mismatch you'll ever see in all of women's basketball history. So, of course you're going to see Oregon beating San Diego. So, San Diego didn't really have too much of a shot in this one, but San Diego had themselves a fantastic season. Getting to the Super 16 of the WNIT is pretty impressive. I only wish San Diego had gotten to the West Coast Conference semifinals or finals of their conference tournament. That would have been even more incredible, but unfortunately they lost in the quarterfinals to Pacific of all teams. My goodness. But still, a fantastic season for those Lady Toreros. So hopefully they can go deeper into the West Coast Conference Tournament next season. So we'll see what happens going forward next year. But for the time being, a good season for the Toreros, or the Lady Toreros regardless. So now for the last team in NCAA women's basketball before we wait and see what happens with UCLA, and that is actually CBU. Yes, CBU actually had a postseason tournament. Now is the WBI. So they actually managed to make the WBI, and that was actually incredible. I actually didn't think they were. I thought they were going to be in the WNIT, but they actually made the WBI, which was good. They lost in the WAC tournament final to Southern Utah, 82-73, which made me sad face. But they made the WBI. They actually got a bye. They actually made the quarterfinals, and they knocked off North Dakota in big-time fashion, 96-79. Woo, Nelly. And then in the semifinals, they actually narrowly escaped against Georgia Southern, 82-80, which was pretty darn impressive if you ask me. They were led by Brittany Klaaman, who had 16 points. And despite Taryn Ward's 31 points from Georgia Southern, they were able to escape with the dub, which is good stuff. So in the finals, believe it or not, CBU actually faced a familiar foe in New Mexico State. And this was actually quite the most dramatic final I've seen in WBI history, even though I haven't really seen a whole lot of CB or WBI matches. Or WBI final. So in the first quarter, CBU came out guns a-blazing. They led 23-11. They were setting the tone in this game. Then in the second quarter, CBU kind of cooled off as New Mexico State was doing everything it can. The problem was for New Mexico State, they could not hit a three-pointer to save their lives. And that was kind of what really kept CBU in the lead. New Mexico State could not hit a three. As at halftime, CBU led 35-33. Then in the third quarter, CBU was just continuing to make their threes. New Mexico State could not hit their threes. Grace Schmidt was just doing her thing, as well as this girl right here. Oop, wrong one. Dorcas Wu, she was doing well. And also, coming off the bench, Chloe Webb was also putting in some work for CBU, as CBU led by 10 after three quarters, and I was thinking, I think CBU might actually have this, as New Mexico State still could not hit a three-pointer in the game. And I'm thinking, as long as CBU continues to play good defense, as long as they continue to hit their threes, they're in good shape. As Grace Schmidt, only a freshman, was continuing to do it big. She couldn't really miss a whole lot. She finished 7 for 8, and I believe it was like under 2 minutes, and New Mexico State actually hit a three, and I'm thinking, okay, well, it took New Mexico State practically the entire game, but they finally hit a three, And then New Mexico State was only down 5. And I'm like, as long as CBU doesn't turn the ball over, we're good. CBU turns the ball over. And then New Mexico State hits another 3, and it's like, you're kidding me. So then it turns out to being the free throw game, and it's like, okay, please make your free throws, CBU. And then it basically turns out to being the biggest nail biter ever. It's like, oh my goodness. I'm like, please don't mess this up. And then eventually CBU splits their free throws. And then New Mexico State makes a layup, and suddenly it's a 1-point game with 11 seconds remaining. And then CBU splits another pair of free throws, and I'm like, oh no, it's like, oh my goodness, I'm scared. And New Mexico State gets one more chance at a layup, but they miss the layup, and then they get the offensive rebound, but unfortunately they don't get the shot off, and CBU wins, and they are the WBI champions, which is awesome. And just for that, CBU gets the big W award for winning the WBI championship, which, honestly, it's more hardwood than they came in with, if you ask me. I know the WBI isn't as glamorous as the NCAA championship, but honestly, that's still pretty darn impressive winning the WBI. And Pepperdine won the CBI back a couple seasons ago, so for California Baptist or CBU to win the WBI is quite impressive. And to do it against your conference rival, that's pretty darn impressive. So congratulations to California Baptist on winning the WBI championship. It's really darn impressive for them to win the WBI. So awesome job, California Baptist, on winning the WBI. And to beat your rival is just amazing. This was the rubber match just because New Mexico State actually beat CBU earlier in the season, and then CBU also beat New Mexico State. So this was basically the tiebreaker, and boy howdy, this was the thriller of all thrillers. And for New Mexico State to basically make one last push toward the end of the game, it was just basically a storybook ending for CBU to basically close out the game with some grit and tenacity. So, great job to the Lady Lancers, and that's how CBU women's basketball ended their season on a 3-game win streak, winning the WBI championship. Alright, so that is that for all of NCAA women's basketball. Again, we still have UCLA women's basketball still playing, but they play tomorrow. I also want to give one shout out to Orange Coast College women's basketball as they won the 3C2A state championship a couple weeks ago. As I want to tell a little story about them. So it was a couple seasons ago where they actually could not field a team all that much, as it got to a point where they actually had to cancel games just because they didn't have enough players to field a full team, just because of injuries and sicknesses and whatnot. But fast forward 2 years later, they're now state champions, which was awesome sauce. And you have to give a credit to their head coach, Sammy Dossett, who honestly really turned that program around. And honestly, it's just amazing that she was able to turn that program around in the span of 2 years. So the fact that she was able to win that state championship is quite amazing, as they defeated Butte College in the state championship 78-71, as it was quite phenomenal. And they only lost one game all season. They finished the season 32-31, and like I said, their only loss came in the hands of in conference play, where they lost to Santa Ana College on January 20th. But other than that, they finished pretty much undefeated, and like I said, they beat Butte College 78-71. Excuse me a second. Sorry about that. But they won the state championship on March 12th at Lemoore College. So, again, congratulations to Orange Coast College on winning the 3C2A 2022-2023 state championship. And it's their first state championship since I want to say 2022, 2023, which I think is awesome. That was back when Mike Thornton was the state championship. But the fact that they were able to basically win the state championship after going 2-14 2 seasons ago is quite amazing. So, yeah, congratulations to Sammy Dossett head coach Sammy Dossett on winning the state championship. So, man, to go 2-14 2 seasons ago, which included canceled games, is just fantabulistic. But that's also my Big W award recipient right there. So, congratulations to OCC women's basketball. And, man, I just need to give that quick shout out right there. So, I'm sorry if I went on a little bit of a tangent right there. It was just perfect segue from women's basketball to women's junior college basketball. So, that's that for women's basketball altogether. So, all right, moving on from collegiate basketball over to professional basketball. So let's jump on over to the NBA as the Lakers and Clippers, they're still playing. They're still going on as the Lakers. They play tonight against the Oklahoma City Thunder. On Wednesday, they defeated the Phoenix Suns 122-111, which is pretty good, actually. I cannot believe this, but they actually snapped a two-year losing streak to the Phoenix Suns. They'd lost to the Phoenix Suns for the last 2 years. I could not believe that. But they actually defeated the Phoenix Suns, which, man, I could not believe that if you ask me. So, good job to the Lakers. I don't know if I should feel embarrassed for them, but it's like, that's kind of good. Anyway, so good job to the Lakers on beating the Suns for the first time in 2 years. They also beat the Orlando Magic on Sunday, 111-105. Though they should have just trounced the Magic, but hey, it's a win. So tonight the Lakers play the Oklahoma City Thunder. Sunday they play the Chicago Bulls in Los Angeles. And then Wednesday they got the Bulls in Chicago. And then next Friday they've got the Timberwolves. The Lakers are actually trending in the right direction as they are 9th in the Western Conference, which is actually good because if the season ended today, they would be in the play-in range, which I guess isn't bad, but it's like they would still be in the consideration for making the playoffs. However, they need to get LeBron back soon as possible. Like, LeBron is not in the category of returning as soon as possible. However, the Lakers are still getting good contributions from other players such as Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, who some people are calling White Kobe Bryant, rolls eyes, D'Angelo Russell, and a few other good players as well. So for the Lakers, they're trending upward and they're utilizing their other offensive players and options. Tonight's game against the Thunder is crucial right there, just because the Thunder are right on the coattails of the Lakers. Believe it or not, the Mavericks, Lakers, Pelicans, and Thunder are log-jammed right beneath one another for 8th place. So one win or one loss could shake things up between the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th spot. And then those teams that I just mentioned, they're only a half game behind the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like I said, between the Suns all the way down to the Utah Jazz, it's pretty close. And the next 3 games are pretty winnable for the Lakers, but the Lakers have to focus on the Thunder. After the Thunder, then the Lakers could focus on the Chicago Bulls. And the Bulls are just having a pretty dreadful season. Like, they're barely treading water in terms of making the playoffs right now. So the Lakers have to take care of business tonight before they get a chance at looking at Chicago. Because if they don't take care of business tonight, then they're going to have a lot more ground to make up. So take care of business tonight, Lakers. Just please do. Please do take care of business tonight. I'm begging you, Lakers. Just win tonight. The Clippers did you a solid, and they beat them, which is actually perfect segue to go into the Clippers. as the Clippers just stomped all over the Oklahoma City Thunder, 127-105. That's the good news. The bad news is, a couple nights ago, the Clippers actually lost to the Thunder 101-100, but that's not the bad news. It gets worse. They lost Paul George to injury, as it looks like he went down with a leg injury, and that's no bueno, because it's looking like he's out for the rest of the regular season. Now, he's not out for the whole season, which is good, but it's like now he could be missing the regular season. But it's just the regular season. No need to hit the alarm button. It's like he's going to be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks, which means there is the possibility he could be out for the regular season. Now, the postseason is a whole different animal. He could be back in time for the playoffs, which, if he's back for the playoffs, then that's a good thing. The Clippers could see him in the postseason, which they definitely will need him for playoffs. Because if they don't have him for the playoffs, then heaven knows what's going to happen with those Clippers come playoff time. I can already tell you that it's not going to end so good for the Clippers come playoff time. And then last Sunday, the Clippers beat the Portland Trail Blazers 117-102. Last Saturday, the Clippers lost to the Orlando Magic 113-108. And I also just got to say this, the Clippers got swept by the Orlando Magic this season. And funny thing is, the Lakers actually swept the season series against the Orlando Magic, which is like, ooh. So the Clippers, who are better than the Lakers, got swept by the Orlando Magic this season, but the Lakers, who are inferior than the Clippers, swept the Orlando Magic this season. Anyway, as for the Clippers, their next game is Saturday at home against the New Orleans Pelicans. After that game, the Clippers return back to action on Monday against the Chicago Bulls. And then Wednesday and Friday, the Clippers head down to the Bluff City Classic, a.k.a. the Music City, a.k.a. Memphis, to take on the Ja Morants, a.k.a. the Memphis Grizzlies, which both games start at 5 p.m., which the Grizzlies are going to be a whole lot more tougher. So we all remember that the Clippers came back from a gigantic deficit to beat the Memphis Grizzlies. Well, now that the Grizzlies have Ja Morant back, they're going to be a whole lot more tougher, because when the Clippers came back from that big deficit to beat the Grizzlies did not have Ja Morant. Now the shoe's going to be on the other foot. Clippers are not going to have Paul George. Grizzlies are going to have Ja Morant. So the Clippers are going to need to pull out all the stops in order to beat those Memphis Grizzlies. That's going to be on both nights. The Wednesday, the 29th, and then Friday the 31st. So we'll see what happens, but it's like the season's winding down, and basically the positioning is going to be on the line, and Clippers aren't even a lock to be in the top 6. Heck, they could be in the play-in spots for all we know, but we'll see what happens. I'm certain the Clippers should be able to lock up at least a top 6 spot, but like I said, from the Phoenix Suns, who are 4th, all the way down to the Utah Jazz, who are 12th, anything is possible. So we'll see what happens going forward with the Western Conference. But it's going to be quite interesting with the Clippers, with how they're going to work without Paul George. And it's going to be quite interesting to see what the Lakers are going to look like without LeBron James, because LeBron James is getting some work back onto the court, but we don't know what his timetable is going to be like. Some are saying that he is going to be back, but he even confirmed that he's not even close to coming back. I mean, it would be great if LeBron came back for the Lakers, but it's like the Lakers are actually doing decent without LeBron. They're actually 8-5 post All-Star game, and it would be so great to have him back. I mean, and tonight, I should also make note that D'Angelo Russell is questionable with a hip injury, so that's just what the Lakers need. Injuries. More injuries. So it just means that Anthony Davis is going to need to put on his big boy pants, and we're just going to need to see Austin Reeves just step up, and we're going to need to see everyone else step up for the Lakers, just because they're doing good, and they're actually in play-in range. I mean, if they can't make the top 6, then we at least need to see them in the play-in range. But either way, we just got to see them actually doing well, and just seeing them in the play-in range or play-in game would just be quite nice. Heck, even Dennis Schroeder, I should also give Dennis Schroeder and Jared Vanderbilt and maybe even Lonnie Walker some credit as well. So we'll see what happens with the Lakers. And yes, Larry, I too am happy that the Lakers beat the Suns, because I didn't even know that the Lakers that the Lakers beat the Suns for the first time in 2 years. Like, that's just sad, dude. I remember the Lakers would always just trounce the Suns year after year. But I digress. Alright, so that is going to do it for the NBA. Let's take a quick little commercial break, give my voice a little bit of a rest. When we come back, we're going to talk some MLS. I want to say the NWSL kicks off this week as well. If not, it's probably kicked off last week. And then we'll talk some NHL. Then we've got some Dum Dum of the Week to give out. And then I shall let you all go on your way. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pulp culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and our weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as Let's Whine About DMV Sports, which should be coming on later today, The Sports Couple Perspective with Larry B. and Cecilia B., which also should be coming on later today. Also, Let's Whine About DMV Sports is hosted by Mike Pat. Also, check out the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax, which comes on every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Patty does an awesome job with her show. And shout out to her who is listening in from her office. And with all that said and done, let's get on into segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Also, if I am pausing in between, it is just me just coughing and clearing my throat just because I still am battling a little bit of sickness. I am not 100% better, but I am practically 100% better. So, just gotta give you all that fair warning. I did have to battle the little bit of sickness from set point on Monday, but I am practically 100% better. I should be 100% better by next week. With all that said and done, segment number 2 of Set Point. So, just gotta give you all this little bit of an update from the MLB. Next week is opening day, which means we gotta deal with the Angels. Ugh. I'm just kidding. we gotta deal with the Angels, the Padres, and the Dodgers as their seasons open up next week, which is awesome. But now for the MLS. So we got a little bit of ground to make up as, long story short, for the Galaxy, they are still winless as they tied with Sporting KC and Vancouver, as on Saturday the 11th they tied with Sporting KC 0-0 at Kansas City, and last Saturday against Vancouver, against the Whitecaps, they tied 1-1 as Tristan Blackman of the Whitecaps had the opening goal in the 14th minute, and then Kelvin Leerdam had a goal for the LA Galaxy in the 4th minute in extra time. After that, the 4th minute in extra time toward the end of the first half. But after that goal, no one else scored, and then that's how the Galaxy earned that 1 point, but they didn't earn the win. So the Galaxy are still winless. Fire Chris Klein. Anyway, so the Galaxy are still winless through 3 games as Saturday they host the Portland Timbers, who basically have 1 win, which is cool. They're winless. I'm just kidding. Portland is No. Portland has one win on this season. Portland does have one win, but they have 3 losses. They've lost their last 3 games, which is sad. But at least they have a win. So I keep forgetting the Galaxy didn't have their season opener game because of Mother Nature putting a damper on the Coliseum. So anyway, as for LAFC, LAFC is the opposite of the LA Galaxy, as they actually are undefeated. They actually have no losses, and they're playing in the, I think they're playing in the CONCACAF, as they actually beat Portland, they beat Portland all the way back on March 4th, 3-2, and they beat New England on Sunday, March 12th, 4-0, and then they tied with the Seattle Sounders last Saturday, on the 18th, 0-0. And then I want to say this was in the CONCACAF. They played in this second leg against this little team. I don't know how to pronounce this team, and I apologize. Alajuelense. They played in 2 matches against Alajuelense. I apologize if I am butchering that name. The first leg against Alajuelense, LAFC won 3-0. This was back on Thursday, March 9th. And then in the second matchup, Alajuelense defeated LAFC 2-1. However, since LAFC had more goals between the 2 teams in the overall legs, LAFC advanced through the CONCACAF tournament 4-2 based on legs. I honestly don't know how this whole CONCACAF tournament works. I'm not the biggest soccer guy. I'm so sorry, but this was in the round of 16, so I imagine LAFC advances to the round of 8 in the quarterfinals. So we'll see what happens with LAFC in the CONCACAF tournament. As they'll play Vancouver in the first leg of the quarterfinals of the CONCACAF tournament on April 5th. But that'll be in the first leg. The second leg will be on April 11th. See, I'm trying to get into the swing of things of the CONCACAF tournament, but that's not going to be all the way up until April. For the time being, they host Dallas FC this Saturday, which is tomorrow. And for the time being, LAFC is in second place in the Western Conference. Believe it or not, first place is actually Seattle, or not, why did I say Seattle? St. Louis City, which they have actually won all their games. Yes, St. Louis City SC is actually an expansion team, and they have actually won all their games they have played this season, so I'm baffled by this. But you also got to remember that LAFC had one of their games postponed, and now it's being moved to the 4th of July. So remember, LAFC is 1 game behind because Mother Nature decided to put a damper on the Coliseum and postpone El Tráfico. So, excuse me a second. Sorry about that. Anyway, so currently right now, LAFC, despite playing 3 games, they are in second place in the Western Conference. So, for the time being, LAFC is still off to a good start. But tying with Seattle, it's not terrible, but it would have been better if they had won. But I guess a tie isn't bad. I mean, they're still so-called undefeated on the season, just because now they haven't lost a game. So I guess good job to LAFC on not being the LA Galaxy. Hashtag Fire Klein. Anyway, so good job to LAFC, and please do win, LA Galaxy. Please just find a way to win. I'm sick and tired of your garbage and your excuses of not winning. Just please find a way to win. Anyway, so that's that for LAFC and LA Galaxy. So as for the NWSL, so this week does kick off the season for the NWSL between San Diego and San Diego Wave FC and Angel City FC. So San Diego kicks off the season at home against Chicago tomorrow, while Angel City FC kicks off the season at home at the Bank of California Stadium against Gotham. By the way, I gotta remember San Diego's home stadium correctly. Snapdragon Stadium. Snapdragon Stadium. They're playing at Snapdragon Stadium. They're no longer playing at Torero Stadium, which is where San Diego or University of San Diego plays at. So just gotta remember Snapdragon Stadium. Snapdragon Stadium and Bank of California Stadium is where San Diego and Angel City play their games. And then also LAFC plays their games at Bank of California Stadium as well. And then LA Galaxy plays their games at Dignity Health Sports Park, a.k.a. the former StubHub Center. See? I know my soccer. I know some soccer, y'all. I'm not that dense at soccer. I know where some of the stadiums are played at in terms of the teams. Anyway, so that's that for all the soccer. So jumping on into the NHL. So, all right, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for all Ducks fans, but the Ducks have been eliminated from playoff contention. Boo! Yes, the Ducks have finally been eliminated from playoff contention. I don't know when they were eliminated from playoff contention, but I imagine it was either yesterday or Tuesday, as they lost both of those games. They lost to the Winnipeg Jets 3-2, and then they lost to the Calgary Flames 5-1. They also lost to the Vancouver Canucks 2-1. And then on Friday, they beat the Columbus Blue Jackets in the Battle of the Bad 7-4. So, yeah, the Ducks, they're pretty much done. The only thing they're doing is tanking at this point, but they're not even doing that correct, because the San Jose Sharks are basically, they're beating them in that as well as, well, also the Chicago Blackhawks are the second worst team in the Western Conference, and then in the league, Columbus Blue Jackets are the worst team in the league, so yeah, get this off my screen real quick. As for the LA Kings, however, the Kings are the second best team in the division, as they're 4 games back of the Vegas Golden Knights, so yeah, at least the Kings are still becoming the bright spot. They're still trailing the Golden Knights by quite a bit of games, so we'll see what the Kings can do. They haven't played in a while, as their last game was on Monday, where they beat the Calgary Flames 8-2, and they actually made the best pun of all. You ate to see it. Oh, that was the best pun of all. You ate to see it. You ate to see it, Calgary. I love it. Anyway, on Saturday, they lost to the Vancouver Canucks in a shootout, 3-2. And then last Thursday, they beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 4-1. So Saturday, they play the Winnipeg Jets at home. And then Sunday, they play the St. Louis Blues before heading off next Tuesday to play Calgary. And then Sorry for the burp. And then Thursday, they head off to Edmonton to play the Edmonton Oilers to close off the month of March. And then they have 7 games left in April. They have the Seattle Kraken next Saturday, and then next Sunday they've got the Vancouver Canucks at Vancouver. And then Tuesday they host the Edmonton Oilers on ESPN, which is cool. I should also make note that on April 6th, which is a Thursday, they've got the Vegas Golden Knights, which I think is going to be the most crucial game for them. That could be what decides the division or not. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, so that is that for the NHL portion of the show. I want to say that's it. as I think I've pretty much gotten everything out of the way. I got NCAA men's and women's basketball. I got the NBA out of the way. I'm not going to discuss NFL. I'm not going to discuss NFL or NCAA men's NCAA football, as I know we've got like NFL free agency going on, but I don't think there's been too many big splashes going on. But I'll get into NFL free agency when the time comes. I don't think there's been too many big splashes when it comes to like the Chargers or the Rams. I know Drew Tranquill did leave for the Kansas City Chiefs, which does suck. And I know the Austin Eckler news has been swirling around. I don't need to be reminded of that. And then I know there's been other news. I know Morgan Fox just re-signed with the Chargers, which is cool, I guess. And then I know there's been other things happening. Oh no. And I did not mean for that to happen. But I guess we now should go to Dum Dum of the Week. And we'll start with me for that mishap. I did not mean for that to happen, and I was not paying attention for my ESPN app. But I guess the ESPN app should be getting Dum Dum of the Week as well. I guess I should also give myself Dum Dum of the Week for picking UC Santa Barbara to upset Baylor. I can't believe I even thought of myself to even pick UC Santa Barbara. What was I thinking picking UC Santa Barbara to beat Baylor? It's like, I guess I should have thought a little bit more clear. Yes, my SoCal bias was showing, but it's like, I guess I really wanted Creighton UC Santa Barbara in the round of 32, but I should have been a little bit more smarter when thinking of who was going to really win between UC Santa Barbara and Baylor. But I should have been thinking a little bit more clear. And honestly, that was my bad for that little mishap happening on that little sound bite on the ESPN app. I should have exited out of the ESPN app on that one. So, for my little mishap that just happened, I guess I'll give myself the first Dum Dum of the Week award.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'll be better next time. Note to self, exit out of the ESPN app, just so you're not accidentally clicking on highlights. Anyway, so that's just the first Dum Dum of the Week. So the second Dum Dum of the Week, okay, first of all, this is going out to everyone that decides to do this. It's flu season out there, and I'm just going to tell this to everyone out there. Cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. Last week I got sick. Please cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. I cannot get sick. Please, please, please cover your mouths. I cannot take getting sick. I cannot afford to get sick. Especially since I haven't really gotten officially hired yet, but I have to make my money. I cannot afford to be missing Set Point or SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I don't want to get sick anymore. It's not fun being sick. Like, do you know how much it sucks being sick? Yes, you could just chill out and just take a nap, but it's like, you basically are just coughing, and then your nose is all nasally, and then your mouth, when you're sleeping, it's dry. It just sucks being sick, dude. So, please, for the love of all that is holy, cover your freaking mouths when you cough or sneeze. Like, flu season is among us, ladies and gentlemen. Please, for the love of God, cover your mouths. Like, don't make us resort to going back to wearing masks. Like, I just don't want that to happen. So, if you do not cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze, you are getting Dum Dum of the Week. I don't care who you are. You are getting Dum Dum of the Week. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And to those that do not cover your mouth, I do not care who you are. You are the Dum Dum of the Week. Just please, please, please cover your mouth. But I won't give out Dum Dum of the Week, just because if I have friends that basically don't accidentally cover their mouth or sneeze, then basically you're not Dum Dum of the Week. But this is your public service announcement. Please, for the love of God, just cover your mouth. I cannot afford to get sick. No one else can afford to get sick. Germs are just flying around. This is flu season. And just please, I just don't want to be sick anymore. Just because I can't afford to get sick and no one else can afford to get sick. Just because, well, this is money time for me. I need to make my money. And honestly, I need to also continue to do my shows. I need to continue to do Set Point and SoCal. And I need to continue to basically PA announce. I need to continue to do my... And I also got to continue to go to my NCAA men's volleyball matches like I'm doing tonight. So please, just cover your mouth, especially around me. Because if you don't, I'm going to find you and I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm just kidding. I won't punch you in the face, but I'm just going to be weirded around you, and I'm just going to... I probably will just say, please freaking cover your mouth. Anyway. Alright, that's your public service announcement right there. Also, I also do have the right to give myself Dum Dum of the Week just because I said I said the D word on Set Point. But anyway, I also need to give one more Dum Dum of the Week. So remember the thing I said earlier in the show? So remember when I was talking about how I had a job interview? So my job interview was actually slated to be on Thursday. So I actually got dressed, got fitted, got showered up, got freshened up, and I went over to my job, or went over to the job, and I was waiting for the assistant manager to basically just take me up and basically talk over with me about the hiring process and to basically interview me. But then I basically get there and I'm like, so where's the assistant manager? And he's like, oh, he's not here. And I'm like, what? And then I guess the supervisor was like, oh, he's not here. And it's like, why was I not informed about this? So they basically said, oh, well, he's not here, so can you come back tomorrow? So basically, I'm not going to give out any names. I'm not going to give out the name of the store or the name of the place that's trying to hire me, but it's like, you can't just tell me, you can't just set a date for me to come in and interview me and then just say, oh, our assistant manager isn't here. Can you come by tomorrow? It's like, call me and say, oh, we're not, like, cancel this or just call me. It's like, it just really bothered me. It's like, you can't, my time is like very valuable, dude. It's like, it really bothered me because I wasn't really feeling well on Thursday. Like, it really just did not make me feel well. I wasn't really feeling well on Thursday, and then I basically had to go all the way back home, and because for those that don't know, I actually had to take the ferry, and then I walked over to the facility, and then I had to walk back. So the fact that they told me, oh, our assistant manager is actually at another store, so you'll have to come back tomorrow. It's like, are you joking me, dude? It's like, why didn't you tell me this? It's like, I could have saved a trip, and I could have been resting at home trying to get better. But no, you just tell me this now. So that's what really irked me, and I'm sorry, it's just bad. It's just irresponsible of them for them to do that. And I'm not really like trying to take shots here, but it's like, it's bad, dude. It's like, now if they had just, the correct thing would have been to do was to call me and say, hey, can we move this to like Friday or the day after or another day perhaps? It's like, that would have been the correct thing to do. But instead, you basically waited to tell me when I got there, and it's like, that's irresponsible. Because what if I had not known about it, and then I would have been panicky, and then I would have not known about it. Like, I would have panicked over nothing. So, I don't want to give, like, Dum Dum of the Week to, like, the assistant manager for something that they could have that could have been avoided, but this could have been avoided. But honestly, I kind of have to give it to the assistant manager who didn't, communicate with me. It's all about communication. So, I hate to do this, but the assistant manager kind of gets dum-dum of the week. I'm not going to give names. I'm not going to give the name of the facility, but to the assistant manager who didn't tell me beforehand, because I wasn't feeling well on Thursday, you're kind of dum-dum of the week.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
I'm sorry, but it's like, I was not feeling well, first of all, and then second of all, when you don't tell me, it's like, why? It's like, I should not have to be informed of this when I arrive, and then be told of this, come back tomorrow. It's like, all you just gotta do is just pick up the phone and just say, hey, I'm gonna be out, I'm not gonna be in tomorrow on Thursday. Can you come back the day after? That's the correct thing to do, instead of just having your assistant supervisor or your supervisor just say, can you come by, just tell me this while I'm here. It's like, that's not the correct thing to do. The correct thing to do is just tell me over the phone, and then just tell me, can you come by tomorrow? I'm sorry, but I don't want to give awards like that, but it's like, my time is just not, I have a lot going on, and I want to get better by Friday, but it's like, if you're telling me to basically, if you're telling me this in person, and if you're basically telling me this in person, and you're making me waste a trip, because the ferry cost $150, it's like, why are you not informing me of this? Because the ferry costs money, and I'm not really made of money. I'm sorry, but it's just frustrating, dude. I'm not really trying to call people out. I'm not trying to call people dumb, but it's like, when you're me and you're trying to basically, when you're trying to get a job, and you're trying to make money for your family, it's like, you want to make sure every detail is correct. And I had in my phone that my interview was on Thursday, and I basically did everything correct to basically go to the store that I was told to go to the interview on that said Thursday. And then they basically told me, oh, our assistant manager's not here, so come by tomorrow. And all you just had to do was just say over the phone prior to that Thursday, come by tomorrow. Anyway, this is just me just ranting, and just me just being frustrated, and how just trying to blame life. But I'm just ranting at this point and just having my own little segment. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Let's get out of here. It's that time, ladies and gentlemen, for me to get on out of here, because I got me a volleyball match I gotta call, and I gotta get me some grub in me. You dig? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. I'm sorry for the little rant at the end, just because, well, my time just does not deserve to be wasted like that, but I really do appreciate everybody, for those that sympathize with me. Shout out to the chat room that listened live. Shout out to Cuddy Backs that listen. Shout out to Larry B. and shout out to Adam Barnett. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. For those of you that are going to be at the Walter Pyramid in Long Beach, I will be there for the Long Beach State USC men's volleyball match. Definitely do. If you definitely see me, just tell me hello. If you do see me there. For everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great week. Stay safe. Stay healthy. It is flu season, so definitely do stay healthy. Do be aware. I will see you all Monday for set point, most likely, unless anything changes. I'm sure I'll be 100% healthy by then. But until then, you all have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy the March Madness, whether your team is in it or not. Go San Diego State men's basketball. Go UCLA women's basketball. And just remember, everybody, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace and blessings, y'all.